So we all need to drive at some point in our lives, whether it's going to school or going to work or something like that. But there are some people who are car enthusiasts and people who like to just drive, right? And so some people like to take that to a broad extreme and just want to be like fucking Tokyo Drift go right. but um but I mean for some others, you know, especially when you're like 16 or like you're just getting started in driving, right? It's like a very exciting thing. It's like, holy shit, I get to drive this vehicle. I get to do whatever I want. Be the big boy. You don't know that, right? And I mean, yeah, sure, it is pretty exciting. It's a new thing, you know, something that you wouldn't have done or you haven't done ever in your life. So it's pretty cool. But I mean, what is it? I remember like when I was doing driving school and just the fucking like 30-hour course that you had to do online or whatever. I remember like they talked a lot about like driving safety, about like why you should be safe on the road and like put your seatbelt on and all this, and it's like okay, yeah, that's important, sure, but like I felt like that was really detached and something that didn't really resonate with me too much, right? And so I was like, okay, I don't care, I'm gonna go do my own thing. And same thing with like the 8-hour driving course you have to do, at least in the state of Georgia. Yeah. Like the driving instructor, they heavily emphasize the point of like certain like safety things and whatever. And I mean, some of them were pretty good. You know what? I did instill them for the first couple months when I was driving, I would admit. But this is all before I met some of my older friends, right? Because like to give you some context, I moved a bunch of houses, like I think 2 or 3 times because of some issues I won't go over. But either way, I was hopping between houses and I ended up getting a text from an old friend of mine from elementary school, actually. And he was like, yo, what's up? Is this still you? And I'm like, I mean, yeah, it's still me. I want to see why not, right? So I meet back with him, and there's like this huge change in dynamic with the friend group, right? And I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen each other. And so, I mean, I kind of stayed as like this sort of like nerdy kid, like kind of like big chunk boy. I mean, I'm still kind of chunky as shit. Like, ah, fuck. Oh, this fucking the big fat. But but yeah, yeah, still working on it though. But like everybody else kind of changed somewhat, right? Maybe not too much in terms of looks, but in terms of like personality, like their interests and such. Like for example, I didn't expect a lot of my friends to be car guys when I met back up with them, and I was like, oh shit, I can't relate with any of them. I'm kind of just hanging around with them. This is actually over the pandemic, so when I was like 17, 18ish, around that time. And my chair's dying. It's like squeaky. But um yeah, so like I was hanging out with them and I want to catch up with them, see what's up. And you know, knowing that they were a bunch of car guys, I was like, okay, I'll be open to the whole car thing, see what's up. So like I went to a couple of car convention, like car meetups and whatnot. It's like this big one in Atlanta, or like around Atlanta. It's like Coffee and Octane, I think it's called, right? And it's not bad actually. Like coming from a car guy, or not that much of a car guy myself, I think it's pretty interesting to see like all the different types of cars, whatever. Um, but yeah, really good event. Anyways, so what was it? After all that, right? Eventually, I learned from some of my friends that they want to do professional racing, or like they want to be car racers or whatever. And I mean, this is something I'm not familiar with at all. So I mean, but I did find it as like an interesting pathway because it was like, who the fuck would think of anything like that? So I don't. And then this is around the time like once I learned this, like I think months afterwards, it was somebody's birthday, and for one thing that we wanted to do for their birthday, there was like this one road, basically, right? And people just go, or it was like this like long like two line road, and we decided we're just gonna race through that, despite the heavy traffic that was there during rush hours. So, um, and we were racing over to a pizza place, by the way. I remember that too. So we were racing over to this pizza place, seeing who could get there first. And I was kind of interested. I'm like, yeah, fine. We'll see what happens, right? And I did it, and I just like shift the gears and shit, going like left to right, and I'm like, dude, it's fucking exhilarating. This is some cool shit. I love this, right? This is awesome. And eventually, I started to get more and more into it. But then, as I was getting more and more into this, like reckless driving shit, obviously I would develop more reckless driving habits. I know I sound like an old man, like, oh, you should have developed none of these habits. They're very bad for you. But I mean, I'm a fucking dumbass. Like, it happens, And I don't think it's right. It's not justifiable, but like, it happens. So, yeah, I was speeding a lot more. I was driving more aggressively. I was getting a lot more closer to cars, right? And like, for some people, that's like mild. Like, okay, whatever. People always do that. But for me at the time, I mean, I also thought that was pretty mild. But like looking back at it now, it's like, okay, maybe I was a bit too aggressive. But I'm not sure if it's because I was a soft bitch boy or not, or if I became one. But anyways, so but yeah. Point being though, there's this one night where I was driving through this like long road. It was a 3-lane actually this time, but it was a 45-mile-per-hour road. And I was just like kind of zooming through, and as soon as I was zooming through, I saw blue lights behind me. I was like, "Fuck!" That's a big. I got fucked up signal. So but yeah, so I got pulled over, and then I got a ticket for 72 on a 45, and at the time that alone could have suspended my license, and I was like, shit. Nothing I could do about that. And I didn't really realize at the time that it would suspend my license, that alone. But I was like, okay, fuck it, whatever. It's just whatever, right? So, but it doesn't end there. At some point too, I was also doing DoorDash around this time period too, right? Same time where I got pulled over. And I think a month after that, I ended up doing this one delivery for just like $12 sandwich or something. I don't know. But basically I went over to this person's house, and as soon as I arrived there without even knowing it, I crashed into one of their Jeeps, just like a big fucking Jeep in a narrow road. I don't get it either, with like no space. It still pisses me off. Like bro, you could literally put that in the driveway. Like, it's open. It was open as shit, mind you. And it was a tiny ass road I had to go through, right? And there was like another car coming, and I was like, okay, whatever. And sure, there are like more appropriate ways to handle that. Okay, fine. But like, uh that fucking Jeep is so But I crashed into it. And I'm not sure if I still have an image on it, or of the car, right? But of my car, but either way, it was bad. It was like literally the right light was just kind of cut off almost. It was literally just cut off. It was bad. But yeah, if I find the image, I'll definitely put it on screen somewhere around here. But anyways, so hey guys, this is me in the future, just editing this video out, and yeah. So I noticed with the image, I did find the image, but I noticed that my brother was also in the back of the car, right? And that led me to add on this other point where it's like, yeah, if other people are in the car with you, then no shit, that's like a bigger risk for them too. So like, I mean, I don't talk about it in the end of it, but I thought I mentioned it right now that like, yeah, if you're gonna be the driver, you're responsible for other people too. So like, don't fuck. Oh yeah, there's the editing. This please shut up. Wow. But yeah, no, for real. I'll like, if when you're driving, you're actually playing with somebody's life, and especially those inside of the car with you. So like, that time, like when I explained the story of me crashing my Jeep over to that, or crashing my car over to the Jeep, that could have killed my brother on its own, like just that. But thankfully, he wasn't harmed. If anything, I was harmed. I also forgot to mention that I think my left forearm was kind of fucked for a little bit, but it wasn't that bad. It was like just a shock, like, ooh. But anyways, back to the video. I just thought I'd leave this edited notes. So. But yeah, that accident happened, and obviously my parents were very pissed off about that, right? And they were like, "What the fuck are you doing, you dumbass?" So that was like what, $3,000 in repairs right there, which is unfucking lucky. There was also the tickets, which there was a one ticket that could have suspended me, and then there's that one other ticket that was like, I think 3 points, which is still on my record, by the way, but we'll get to that later. And then eventually I was like, okay, yeah, I'm really screwed. I need to do something. Otherwise, my license is gonna go bye-bye. So I had to take a DUI course, and DUI being driving under the influence, right? And so that course would have helped me try to like as like that course acted as a scapegoat rather as like the get out of jail free card almost, right? Because the DUI course I went to was really interesting in that it wasn't just like the same thing as the 30-hour course you did or you'd have to do, but it actually taught you more about like court etiquette, what you should do to prepare for court, what you should say in court, how to act, how to dress, all the everything, just to maximize your chances of not getting screwed over by the judge, right? And so I did all of that, and I have all the documents ready on hand, everything, right? And by the time it came to my court date, I went over to so like when you go to court for this sort of thing, right? You'll be seated somewhere in like the courtroom, and if it's like a minor offense, it's just like some guy will call up and then they'll basically speak for the judge, and then you talk to them, and then afterwards you go to the judge, and then they'll announce your name. It's like what did you do, and what is your sentence, right? And then you leave afterwards to like another person, and then bye bye, right? So I got called up. I went over to this person, and basically, he was really frustrated at me. He was just like, "Bro, why were you doing this? This is really irresponsible. How could you have done this? You're an absolute moron." Blah blah blah. And I just said that like, yeah, I understand, sir. I messed up really badly, and I shouldn't have done any of that. And you're speaking to him in like a very polite manner, with a lot of respect, even though, God, fucking dickhead. But yeah, I mean, I can understand where he's coming from though, honestly, with like now looking at it. But still, that was unprompted responses from her, like just whatever. It was out of pocket. But anyways, so. But I presented him the documents. I presented him my whole spiel, basically. And also my mom was there too. She just wanted to come and just support me, which, I mean, thank you, Mom. I really appreciate that. But, so eventually after all that, instead of revoking my license, which was supposed to be initial punishment, instead, they just completely removed the whole, like, point thing, basically, right? Under one condition, rather a couple conditions. So the first condition is I had to do community service for 20 hours. I had to meet that 20-hour community service and send over a report back to court before the next court day where I have to come appeal, right? And the second condition is if I were to get another speeding ticket, doesn't matter how small or big it is, then those 4 points would come back on my record, and then at that point my license would be revoked. I still had to pay the fee, unfortunately, but that was that, right? And so, so I got that over with, and I was able to do the 20 hours community service, which, I mean, I went over to a park to do community service, which usually that's a living hell, but actually, I got really lucky with this one because, what was it? I remember going to the agency office area, and they were like, okay, yeah, since it's like a really, like, small thing you didn't do anything that bad, I'll send you over to this place. They're normally pretty cool. I'm like, okay, cool, awesome. And yeah, they were really cool. Like, actually, for the entire time, I just did nothing but just relaxed and just chilled. And like, I even got to talk. Like, I wanted to help them just out of like gratitude, and that's one thing. It was just like a small note. The best, like, one thing I noticed when it comes to showing gratitude for people is just giving them services and help. Probably the best way, in my opinion. But that's a little side tangent. So that's how I like to share gratitude. And they appreciated it. And I even remember going back to them, like, I think a year after and just saying, like, hey, what's up, guys? How's everything going? And just, it was just a super great time, right? And yeah, I learned a lot from that place. It was actually a really good experience. But yeah, so after all that, after like the 20 hours of service done, I mean, this is a bit of my fault because I forgot about the whole court thing because I was so busy with school and whatever that I missed the court date. And then they call my dad for some reason, which is really stupid. And they're like, "Oh, so you missed the court date. So we're gonna have to revoke your license. This is like a little reminder that you missed the court date." I'm like, why the fuck does that like? I swear to God, the courtroom or like the courtroom system, they're there to actually screw you over at some cases. It's so stupid how they do this shit. I hate that so much. But God, I could go on a whole rant about that if I really wanted to, but I'm not. So yeah, that was a thing, right? And after we went through all that process, like getting the report on the day after, mind you, and they were like time crunching it, like, oh, you have like only a couple hours to do all of this. We did this all very quickly, got them back the documents or whatever, right? And after all of that chaos, I finally get relieved of my shitty situation. How I could have avoided all this? Just driving like a normal person and not driving like a fucking asshole, right? Now, granted, after that entire situation, I did get a letter from the judge, I believe, actually. Or from the courtroom, I know that much. Was it the courtroom? Fuck, I don't... It was from like the county, or like the mayor, or like courtroom area. I don't know, one of those people. But anyways, I got a letter from them saying like, oh, thank you so much for acknowledging like what you did wrong. I understand like you show a lot of maturity and a lot of initiative in yourself, and we really do appreciate that as the courtroom of the city. And I'm like, oh, that's really nice. Thank you. Um, so basically, what is all this? Why did I just tell you this entire story, right? Like, what was the point of this? So, what I wanted to emphasize is that, well, one, don't drive like an asshole. That's number one, because you can avoid all of what I just experienced, right? And that leads on to another note. Like, if you know, like, you're doing something stupid, or like you have this intuition that, yeah, this is probably a bad idea, but you try to go along with your friends or whatever, don't do that. Like, it's not cool at all. Like, it's like, what the fuck's the point, right? Like, what is it? If I pretended I was a car guy with the car group, I guess, if you will, then I mean, I would fit in, I guess, but like then, you know, if someone were to talk about like I don't know, specs of a car, like a certain car, whatever that just came out, this luxury car, whatever, I would just be like, I don't know, right? Or like I pretend, oh yeah, I definitely know, yeah. But it's just lame as shit, you know? Like, I just admitted to my friends, like, hey, listen, I'm not interested. Like, I don't know too much about cars. I think this is interesting. Not, like, my full interest, but, like, I have a lot of respect for this entire thing. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool. So, like, sometimes they'll take me to some car meets, sometimes they don't. But either way, we're still pretty chill with each other. Just, like, you know, we'll talk to each other every now and then. It's super cool, you know? And I remember one of my friends saying, like, yeah, see, I have more respect for you than some people who fake being in the like car community, because like some people would do that, and I'm just like, why the fuck would you do that? Like, what's the point of that shit, right? But hey, people want to do that to fit in, and there's no point of really doing that too much, you know? It's just like, God, this is gonna sound so like hallmark and cliche, but like, just be yourself, you know? And no, seriously, be yourself, honestly. And if you don't know who yourself is, honestly, fine. I was the same person, right here, right? I was the same way, and all you have to do is just one, get rid of all expectations of yourself from like other people or whatever, right? And two, just go ahead and do whatever is interesting to you, despite how weird it is. Actually, especially how weird it is. Unless it's like some like BDSM hardcore section. I don't know. Just no. I don't want to be involved with that. You can have that. Don't share it out to other people. Just no. But but yeah, so yeah, no, like don't drive recklessly. Don't just do stupid shit just because your friends think it's cool, or like if you think it's cool, even if you get that like exhilarating high. I was actually talking to a friend about this, about like good and bad habits. And I mentioned that if you can find an alternative to that like exhilaration or like that adrenaline high, let me get some water, G. Yeah. Wagwa. Yeah. Oh, alright, but yeah, so if you can find that replacement for that adrenaline high through like some sort of other like healthier habit, if you will, then that's the best option. That's like the best thing you can do, right? Because like for example, if we're gonna take my like shitty driving habits, and I was doing that for the whole adrenaline high aspect, right? Instead of that as my adrenaline high source, why not like networking or talking to people? Because for me, if you can believe this, right, I'm not very good at talking to other people or just like going up front with other people, right? So that's one thing for me. Or for myself, honestly, talking to girls as well. I know that's like fucking stupid, but like it's true. Again, it correlates back to the not being good at talking to people thing. Or, you know, there's also, what is it? I'm trying to find more solutions with like adrenaline high. I guess like video games would be like a step below that, right? Like, it would be safer at least. So you have that aspect. Or trying out a different hobby, new skill, going out and doing just you have to do a lot of experimentation basically. And like I just came up with all those ideas in my head, but I've also had to try those things out myself, right? And I can say with proven stuff. I mean I don't have graphs. Here's the graphs. No, but I could say though with experience that like replacement for the like adrenaline high for driving, I was able to replace it with just talking to people, or with some other aspects like going to the gym is another one, or like just I don't know. There's like so many other different things. It's actually crazy, but I can't list them all out because I'm not giga brain, right? But we can go to like there's like many other different examples. Like fuck, I'm not gonna say smoking weed because I haven't had a lot of experience with drugs. I'll be honest with you. But video games, actually, video games, perfect. So we have video games, right? And the replacement for video games in terms of like excitement or like adrenaline or just the feel good aspects of it. Well, first of all, you have to figure out if you're trying to get rid of a bad habit, what is the thing? Why do you enjoy this bad habit? What makes you do this bad habit, either consciously or unconsciously, right? So for me back then, video games was a way for me to enhance or get that like journey experience. Like I wanted to feel like I was in a story or like in a movie or some shit, right? And because of that like movie feeling, I wanted to get that. I thought to myself, okay, what can I do to like get that sort of feeling in my life, just overall, right? And so I found like just doing hard work at school was actually one thing, funny enough, or like doing research, or just voice acting, doing that for a good bit, right? Because it's like a literal translation, and just talking to many other different people, and just all this sort of stuff, really, right? And that, like, I feel like I'm in a like, it's gonna sound cringy as shit, but like, I feel like I'm in a movie though, for real. Probably not like the blockbuster film, but like, yeah, like a nice, like, just a nice normal film, I'd say, you know? Living my life, pretty good life, I'd say. Enjoying every bit of it as I can, so yeah. So, yeah, if you want to get rid of those bad driving habits, like, if you really think that this is really bad for you, or like this is affecting other people's lives for some reason, then yeah, that's how you would do it. But if you were still on the brink of like, oh well, I'm gonna do this anyways because I don't care, I want to live my best life, blah blah blah, and you'll see like the dangers of that. I'm gonna sound like your dad, but there is a possibility you could kill other people, right? And you could get framed for murder, like vehicular manslaughter. That's a possibility. I know that's like absolutely extreme, but we'll go with like the minute extremes. My story was the minute extreme, actually, of like going in a car crash, speeding, or whatever. That's the minute. And think about this, right? If you don't have a license, how's that gonna change your life? Well, you can't go to school. If you can't go to school, then you're gonna flunk on your classes. If you flunk on your classes, your grades are gonna be shit from that. If your grades are shit, you won't be able to go to college. And if you won't be able to go to college, you gatekeep yourself from having better opportunities in life. And you end up in this like it cascades to a bigger thing. Like if you think this is a small thing, it cascades to bigger things. And that goes with every action, good and bad. So, like if you study like an hour a day on each of your classes, then you do better in your classes, you get good grades, you get better opportunities, you could show that off to employers. You could say that, oh, I'm a diligent hard worker, I know time management. You get better opportunities, you build up with those opportunities up until you get to a point where you end up with this like opportunity that you thought you would never get, but you have anyways. Crazy how that works, right? So, there's that aspect. Small things can cascade to big things. Is a big thing. Oh, that's a quote. Small things that cascade to big things is a big thing. Well, yeah, no shit. But, yeah. So there's that. There's like consequences to yourself about like possibly going to jail or also killing yourself. Like it could lead to you dying in a car accident, and you're gonna be like one of those like fuck up driving examples in driving school, where it's like you see your parents sobbing and crying. Like, do you want your parents to cry for you because you went on a car crash? Hmm? Maybe your cousins, your brother, your friends, your significant other. Do you really want that over a car crash? Because you wanted to go fast with that adrenaline high, right? Same thing with drugs, from what I've noticed, at least. Again, I can't speak on the fact that drugs is, I only smoked weed once, and that was like the only time. I was about to take Xanax at one point too, but that's another different story for another time. But, what is it? But yeah, so, bottom of the line though, driving along with other bad habits in life, there's a reason why you do it, obviously. But there's also replacements for that as long as you find the reason why you do it and find out good activities that fulfill that same requirement that you want. And the whole like fitting in thing, again, just be yourself, man. It's all good. If you can't even fit in with that group, you're probably gonna find another group that would fit in much better with you anyways. And I know that sounds easier said than done. And to be honest, I'm kind of still in that like journey of finding my own group of people. I'm still like I'd call myself a drifter, honestly. And honestly, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as people make it seem to be. Being a bit alone. Like, I'm not completely alone, isolated from communication or talking to people. But I wouldn't say either I have like a reliance group where I would just do exactly what I'm doing with my YouTube videos, is just talking about who I am and like all this random shit in my life, right? So, there's that. So, a lot of this is gonna be hard. Like, every good thing that you want in life. Every good thing in life is gonna be hard to get. But you have to start off small. It will cascade to something bigger. Okay? Alright. Thanks for watching. Wish you the best of luck, and, yeah, don't die in a car crash. And don't drink and drive, too. Fucking moron.